Jeff, I was at Restoration Hardware. I was couch shopping last week. I have to say, I can understand why Gary's having a hard time. The customer service wasn't great relative to the other places we went. It was 20% more expensive. Still nice stores, but the overhead on those stores, we had the house car take us from one Restoration Hardware to the other. I was like, this just seems like everything wrong with Gary. I mean, it's
Just
early.
everything wrong with Gary, right? I bet you could have played racquetball in those stores. How would you even begin to staff like an eight? It's the store they have in the meatpacking district of New York is hilarious. It's 8 stories, give or take, with a restaurant on top. We went through there after we had dinner. I took the family there a few months ago. There's no way to staff a store like that. It's and there's no reason to have a department store size furniture store. It's just an insane concept in anything other than a screaming bull market like on a Saturday afternoon. That would be one time for it to make sense. Otherwise, you've got like a person roaming around on every third floor. It's like it's how does this even work? How do you not have homeless people just like falling asleep on the bed displays? It's crazy.
Yeah, and there was a delay in getting a cloud couch until August if you wanted their non like starter crappy fabric. So if you wanted like a real product, like a real fabric, is like delayed till August. And I think that just shows you the supply chain that they have. They make more money because of it, but then they lost me, a consumer, and me right away. I was like, I'm not waiting 5 months for a couch. What are we talking about here?
And that's the problem with tripling down on the super high end, right? Is because you finally make a sale, you can't really, it's no one wants to pay 20,000 for a couch and then have it delayed 8 months. Like if you're going to be kind of laying that type of money out, you expect real custom service. You expect, a craftsman to come out and stitch the thing together in your living room that afternoon. You can't really do that. That's why chains come up with kind of mid end, lower end, and sort of a range, and he's just tripled down on it now. Does that even seem like a short at this point? I don't know. They have taken it to the woodshed so many times. The answer to me is not really. It's not a great
No.
looking chart, but I mean, it's whenever Gary gets kind of this extremely crazy without actually changing any of the numbers, which he did. Gary makes up metrics when he's kind of just faking it really hard. Remember he made up the demand metric where
Oh
the
yeah, that
pent
was
up demand was up 13%, and I'm looking through financial textbooks like what the hell is that? They it intends to purchase is that's not a real financial metric. Yeah, but he was actually relatively forthcoming once he stopped quoting Einstein in his last call. I think he realizes where they are. I think the sales leasebacks, like he's behaving rationally now that he's behaved irrationally to the point of putting the company into come to desperate straits. What's that worth? I don't know. Someone else can go play with that stock if they want to.
Yeah, I mean, I was more thinking about it like, where do you buy it? Because I have a buddy who's been saying that they have $5 of earnings power for a long time, and I just pulled up the Bloomberg, and it's 536 for this year. So, what do you pay on kind of that multiple? I don't know. I guess 100 times got bid, or 20 times got bid $100. So, yeah, it just it kind of comes back to what we were talking about with me and you the other day. Is like some of this stuff is kind of getting to where it's hold your nose and just buy on some of this stuff because it's so beat up. Which is weird because the S&P is barely off the all-time highs, but in consumer land, a lot of this stuff looks like it's 2020 oil type of
Yep.
situation.
Yep. And I think there's two categories of it. There's the hold your nose camp, and then there's the stuff that really hasn't totally collapsed and behaves sort of well, but those are going to that's the land of low multiples. You need a lot of fundamental catalysts, and you need their numbers not to matter this year. It's the upside of the consumer is also the downside. They're going to come out with terrible earnings that, just like last year with the tariffs, our expenses went completely bonkers. Like we don't have a spreadsheet to account for oil tripling last quarter. What are you going to do? That's a really plausible excuse. That's a Wall Street's willing to look past sort of, we stuck to our fundamentals, our multiples low, and we're managing this the best we can. I don't think that gas has gotten to the point that you're going to take anything but the worst chains out of business. But if you're operating something that's high multiple, that's relying on having a really good year, we've taken really good year off the table for most of these things. Like RH, it might be a buy here, but they're not going to blow out their second quarter numbers. It's not going to be a fantastic, holy crap, you wouldn't believe the number of super expensive couches that cost as much as a car we sold last quarter.
Hi, I'm David Maris. If you like what you just heard, we've tracked every single pick we make on the show, every ticker, every thesis, every entry price, over 1,100 picks and counting. We put it together in a free report with our top 10 performers, the reasoning behind each one, and a preview of our full dashboard. If you want access, the link is in the description.